You can come to these gentlemen here and show your permit.
And we should be doing that.
Love you, man.
That's the sheriff of the county. He's coming to talk to you. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep
man.
going.
You're
Okay?
famous.
I'm going to pretend like nothing's happening up here.
Keep going.
I was not aware.
Off the grounds. I know.
I was not aware I needed a permit as an individual.
Yes, sir, it is.
The Capitol
But you
Police
already had
informed me
taken it.
different yesterday. I apologize.
That's fine, sir. You're entitled. Your constitutional right. You just got to do it through the steps. That's all.
Okay.
You just got
Well,
to take the necessary actions in order to do that. You can't do that right now, sir, without a permit.
how was informed that it
You
worked?
talk with him, sir.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to do that. Where you at?
Oh, I have to leave?
Yeah, you got to leave the ground, sir.
I can't stand on the sidewalk.
Sure, you can go out there,
Okay.
but that's still county grounds. You can step across the street. This is all still county grounds, sir.
Okay.
On the easement. If you want to stand over there, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
But you are subject to those. The city comes by and they can stop you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
What would the city be stopping me for from on public property?
If you're disturbing, if you're disrupting traffic or something like that,
Oh,
don't
no,
disrupt traffic.
Sir,
You go over there.
I came to speak to you at the beginning because I told you I was not going to.
understand that. Right, I appreciate that. And we didn't disrespect you whatsoever.
No,
did we?
no,
Okay.
not whatsoever. I'm just letting you know.
You bet.
Yo, yo, yo. We're here with episode 20 of Let's Vibe TV. And I like to call episodes like these frequency checks because a lot of times, with a lot of really smart movements, the wrong people be representing them and making the whole clan look bad behind good ideas. So I've got a huge representative of the movement in the Midwest to stay at home, stay safe, quit protesting, all that kind of stuff. I have him on today's episode. The MC is his name, and he's been going to the protest and has been protesting the protesters, as you saw on the opening video, to really interesting results. And we're going to check the heat on the man. So here he is, the 217 representative, the MC, the activist. Here he is, the MC. What's up, my boy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All righty, you broke up for a second there.
Okay.
I do want to get one thing straight out the gate. I'm not against reopening businesses and wear masks so we don't have to end up locked up again.
Okay. Well, for starters, let's crack it open with this on my end because I want to set this straight. I fully agree that the protesters look crazy being out there and around each other in a time like this. But I also am here to wonder, why is it so important to you?
Especially in the age of social media, like you mentioned earlier, they defriend people, they block people they don't agree with. So they end up only seeing things that match up with their beliefs and with their ideologies. And what that's caused is folks have blinders on these issues. So I really feel it's important to show them that there is a dissenting opinion.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense because it's really easy to only see what you want to hear on social media. It's a really easy thing to attain. But now with that fine line, I get it. You're like, yo, I'm in your face. are you going to protest with me being right here? You know,
and that's actually one of the reasons I'm in opposing groups.
Oh, yeah, no, me too. I like to keep my social media because how can I really know about what I am talking about if I don't have both perspectives? A lot of people lose sight of that and stay focused on one side of the angle. That's a very in-your-face approach. But why the fuck are you bringing a camera then? Because you can do all that.
Because it's just as important to show the folks that are there how I feel, but it's also to show the folks that are at home and borderline on the issues that there is opposition to them. One of the biggest goals that I've had is to disrupt the media. That way, this very vocal minority doesn't get successful in that.
And so, well then, okay. Now, this has only been going on like 2 months. When did it really become an issue to you? And you still haven't answered my first question. You've given a lot of really good points. I can't really argue some of your points, but why is it such an issue to you? I agree fully. I look at them crazy and all that, but ultimately at the end of the day, I feel like if they want to get it, I mean, I guess it spreads further than that, and it can get into your home and shit through their ignorance and stuff like that. But it's a messy situation.
Exactly.
It's a messy all over, though, at the same time, because even there is still people who've got to work, who are coming home to families, and we still got to buy food. We still, there's no way to not come in contact with each other.
Yep. Important for folks to wear masks. The reason that it's so important to me personally, the business that I was working at up until 3 weeks ago, and so from January, I saw them extend Chinese New Year for a week and knew that it was going to be more serious than what they were currently talking about. And we just had our third child last 2 weeks ago. He actually just turned 2 weeks on, he'll turn 2 weeks. It pushes women into early labor because it drops your O2 levels. So that's personally the reason that staying safe and taking the precautions were so important to me. But seeing these folks out there rallying, it doesn't affect them. It might affect them, but can also affect everybody they go back to. They actually have shown that the Michigan rallies have infected smaller towns around Michigan. Northern Michigan had an outbreak that didn't exist until some of those protesters came back from the Capitol.
Okay, and that was one of my questions too. It was really important for me to know, like, are people actually catching corona after the protest? Is there any direct connection to the protest and corona? But also, you're not wearing a fucking mask right now, Bodog.
I'm out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nature. That's what it is. It's understanding the precautions to take. In an open air environment, spread out from other folks, the closest people to me over here are about 15, 20 feet away. So yeah, you don't need to wear a mask when you're more than 6 to 10 feet away, especially when you're outside. All the mask does is stop you from spitting on things and people when you breathe and talk. So that's why it's important for everybody to be wearing masks, because then if those droplets aren't touching surfaces that other people touch, then we beat it at the start.
Okay, I see. What was the first protest that you went to. How long have you been going to the protests? How long have they been going on for?
Specifically, the essentially anti-mask protests. The first one was mid-April. The action today in Jacksonville was the sixth action.
I see. Now, I had some issues with the Jacksonville protests. Straight up. Because I was watching the live and people instantly idolize you when they see you. You have some powerful messages. You know what I'm saying? It is very moving what you're talking about and what you're representing. But they don't even question you or wonder why you're doing what you're doing. It sucks because, well, the cop did, and even the cop said, "Oh, good job, now you're famous." And
Get what you
on
want.
the video, what you were highlighting, you were like, "Oh, did you see my video on YouTube? Did you see this or that?" And that shit has nothing to do with masking up. Was the person that you were talking to, were they wearing a mask? It didn't sound like they were.
The police officer, or what do
No,
you?
on your live today. I
referring to?
brought up multiple situations where
Everybody that was me today, had a mask on. The person that actually planned on coming had a respirator just like mine, and sure to stand about 6 feet apart. The only time I got closer than that to folks was when the Jacksonville Journal Courier showed up.
Okay.
And that was just to give him my name.
Well, even with that, I heard you bring up multiple times your YouTube video like it was a fucking like it was your latest single or some shit. You're like, "Oh, go to YouTube, look at my video of me getting chased."
Because I to the other side.
What did you say?
I think it's important for folks to see those actions. I think it's important for folks to see and understand what the other side is doing and where they're coming from.
Okay. I mean, in the video, why did they make you move?
Because I did not have a permit to be protesting, which I'm not sure about that specific area, but most places in Illinois, as an individual, you don't have to have a permit to assemble. You're just one person. You're not an assembly.
Yeah. So you didn't have anybody with you or anything.
I had one guy with a camera and watching my back, and the crowd staying a little bit separate so people didn't.
I mean, and so you were talking about children that you know and you wanting people to be safe, but you're literally putting your life and theirs in jeopardy by doing what you're doing.
I take all the precautions that I'm able to, and I feel like it's important for somebody who has the gear that I do to speak out and be a voice for the people who don't, people who can't do it as safely as I can. I have a doffing station to clean when I go into my house. I enter through a separate door. I take a shower when I get home. As soon as I got into this truck, into my vehicle after I left there in Jacksonville, I sprayed my entire body down with sanitizer.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm just, you've got good answers, but
And I get it.
yeah, no, well, and it's important for people to know if they do want to do what you're doing, how to be safe about it. Because people will watch.
I don't advise anybody to put themselves in situations that I have been, because it's definitely a dangerous position that I put myself in a few times, and that's not something that I advocate for anybody else to try.
Okay. I mean, so what do you think you're inspiring people to do? What are, like, I get it. You keep on saying mask up, but also, okay, you have like a pink and yellow or whatever color it is face mask. You're also trying to represent yourself. And when we talked before, you said that you're getting back into music because of this?
Because I've been inspired to use my words not just on signs of protest, but actually speak more in depth on things.
And so is this your first time protesting? Are you new to protesting?
And hip hop's always been the voice of this.
Okay, can you give us the history where this passion came from?
No, my dad was a union organizer when I was growing, protesting sweatshops when I was on picket lines protesting against sweatshops and child labor. That was a cause that I felt really, really strongly about. I couldn't believe that Disney, Nike, these giant corporations were paying kids my age pennies on the dollar to make their products, and nobody gave a shit. And that's really where my passion for trying to use my voice to help people who can't speak about the issues came from.
Okay, so that was one of the first things that you protested. Did you ever go out on the picket line with your father?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. What'd you say?
I said, did you go and protest with him ever? Were you ever on the picket lines with him?
When I was younger, yes, I did. And I had him as an example of somebody who wasn't afraid to stand up and speak for those who couldn't. I learned from him. One of the things that I try and live by is not only if you see something, say something, speak out against injustices that you see, but if not me, then who? If I'm not going to speak up, who's going to speak up? And one thing I can do by speaking up is inspire people to do the same in their daily lives.
Did he have an outfit and artwork made?
No, he was working on large union causes mostly.
So
I
he
mean,
was the face of.
They got kind of theatrical. They did get kind of theatrical. Yes.
Okay, well, so you've tiptoed around it kind of because I asked you earlier, and you've explained yourself well, but so what is the point of the like persona that goes along with it, and why do you tell people to go watch your video and things like that?
Because I think that it's important to spread what I'm doing, because there aren't a lot of people speaking up or at least doing direct action for that. As far as, it's really not a persona, it's just kind of who I am and who I always have been.
I wouldn't, hold on, wait, so you're saying that this is the same person with the spiked up hair?
And that same person with the spiked up hair was down on the streets of Ferguson after Mike Brown was shot.
So, okay, let's talk about your other protesting experiences, which I felt like you tried to kind of uh, dump on somebody else. So you went out for Ferguson and were out in the streets during Ferguson to protest it.
I had a show down there a couple blocks away from on Canfield where Mike Brown was killed, and about 2 weeks before the protest. So I met a lot of artists from that area, and so yeah, when that started going down, I had a couple guys that were friends of mine that were
Wait,
really
as
involved
an
in
MC
it,
too.
and I thought it was important to show that that was something.
As an MC too, I would never consider doing a benefit concert protesting though. Like kind of maybe, yeah, like, but like even Bob Marley, he was marching in the streets, and doing a concert is way different than that. Do you have any other examples besides that? And like,
Well,
what
no,
do you plan on them?
I'm
Have you made protesters go?
saying that the show was before.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
What, during what I'm doing currently, or hear you now? But yeah, we were out in the streets for weeks, and doing direct actions. We dropped a banner in the state house that said "Stop corporate extortion" because they were passing a bill to give it. They were essentially being extorted because they said they were going to move to Indiana when Indiana didn't have the infrastructure to support their business anyway. And that's one thing that I've always felt strongly about is corporations shouldn't be able to just tramp all over Americans in the way that they do. This country's for us. It's not for business.
Okay. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I can't really disagree with it. It's I mean, I'm just I like you're tiptoeing around it, and I like it's good. I guess you got good answers to my questions, I feel like. And I agree with you. Even watching your video, I felt I and the one that we're going to show later. Let me see if I can get it to show real quick. Before that, let me replay your last one. And then let you give some commentary on what happened.
Safely, and we should be doing that.
Love you, man.
That's the sheriff of the county. He's coming to talk to you.
Woo! All right. I'm gonna keep
Congratulations, man.
going.
You're
Okay? I'm
famous.
gonna pretend like nothing's happening up here.
Keep going.
I was not aware
Off
I
the
needed.
grounds. I know.
I was not aware I needed a permit as an individual.
Yes, sir, it is.
The Capitol
But you
Police
already got
informed me
taken.
different yesterday. I apologize.
That's fine, sir. You're entitled. Your constitutional right. You just got to do it through the steps. That's all.
Okay.
You just
Well-
got to take the necessary actions in order to do that. You can't do that right now, sir, without a permit.
How I was informed
You
that it
need to
worked.
talk with him, sir.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to do that. Where you at? Where you parked?
Oh, I have to leave?
Yeah, you got to leave the ground, sir.
I can't stand on the sidewalk.
Sure, you can go out there,
Okay.
but that's still county grounds. You can step across the street. This is all still county grounds, sir.
Okay.
On the easement. If you want to stand over there, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
But you are subject to those. The city comes by, they can stop you, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
What would the city be stopping me for from on public property?
If you're disturbing, if you're disrupting traffic or something like that,
Oh, no,
don't
I
disrupt
just-
traffic.
Sir,
You can go over there.
I came to speak to you at the beginning because I told you I was not going to.
understand that. Right, I appreciate that. And we don't disrespect you whatsoever.
No,
did we?
no,
Okay.
not whatsoever. I'm just letting you know.
You bet.
So now Okay. Tell us what was happening.
All right. Well, when I got there, they had the rally was underway. Excuse me. Honestly, looked like a pretty big Trump rally with the Trump 2020 banners and all of that. There was actually merch tables set up that people were just selling flags. I silently walked up. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and the front of the courthouse steps and held up a sign that said, "Love thy neighbor, wear a mask." My other sign said, "If you wore masks and kept 6 feet apart, your protest would be more effective." I stood there silently, didn't say a word, just held my masks up, and they came up to block me, which drove me farther up the stairs so more of their people could see it. It was kind of counterproductive for them. But shortly after that is when that video starts and the sheriff comes up and asks me to leave. I was really surprised that he was trying to take me directly to my vehicle rather than just to whatever public property that I was allowed to occupy.
I see. Well, I mean, do you think that you have made people more aware, or like, do you think just people who have agreed with you already have been who are behind you? Whose mind have you changed through what you are doing?
I think that I have inspired people to be more vocal in favor of taking proper
you can't
precautions.
say that you
but
don't
I also
advise
think
other people. You can't say you don't advise other people to do
speak
the
out, not
same
necessarily
thing
in person.
and then want them to be more vocal about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I just like I like as like for me, I try not to speak on things that I don't
Large
know.
rallies. I mean,
It's lagging, so we're cutting.
okay.
It's not right now. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
And a big part of it is raising awareness to let folks know how important it is to do the proper things if we want to get back to the life that we had before. Because like I said earlier, if folks aren't taking these precautions, wearing masks, we're going to end up back that this is something that they need to do. And sometimes I point out that they're being extremely childish about it. In the clip you're going to show, I compared them to my 8-year-old daughter when she throws a fit. And that's really how it feels like. I mean, these guys are out screaming, trying to be loud.
It's just, I feel like
why
both
would you not demonstrate?
Both sides are extreme, are very extreme and radical. Even like you were kind of trying to be intent. Like, you think that you're gonna call grown ass Trump supporters 8-year-olds and not have them chase after you?
I mean, I was hoping that they could act like adults. They tried to silence me on the steps, so I spoke louder.
But you called them an 8-year-old. You already knew that they were going to act like that.
Because they're acting like an 8-year-old. Sometimes when somebody's being an idiot, you have to tell them that they're being a fucking idiot or else they don't realize.
That's what this episode is about.
And when they have all these... bees on the camera.
Wow. That's crazy. But yeah, even this, I believe in your cause, but as like I'm older now, and like with this platform, I wanted to hear your reasoning, question you a little bit, and make sure that your vibe is correct in what you're trying to do, and make sure that your heart is pure in it, especially with how social media is a very divisive thing, because used properly, it can change the world for good, and used the wrong way, it can tear shit apart. And it's about, I don't want other people going out and trying to fight Trump supporters. And if people who don't agree with him really want to win, sinking down to his level never gets you there. I mean, and even it's tough to call them Trump supporters because Trump doesn't necessarily, he's not rushing for the country. He is rushing, but he's not necessarily being even as argumentative as he's
to be able to supersede states and open churches yesterday.
It's lagging. Hold on.
Okay.
What was the last?
That's also why, because I know people. Well, I was saying that Trump's trying to supersede states' rights by forcing governors to allow churches to open against executive orders that are on the books, which is really ironic that these folks were in downtown Jacksonville waving the flag of a failed war, supposedly for states' rights that was actually about being able to own people, want to cheer on a president who's saying that he can supersede the governors and the states' rights in that way. There's a lot of hypocrisy coming out of that side.
Yeah. I mean, well, isn't you protesting because they're protesting kind of hypocrisy?
If I wasn't taking the proper, I would say more so. I'm not just fire people to. I've begun using the platform that I've gained to share local businesses that have stepped up and are taking the proper precautions and protecting their employees and their customers. I've made a couple of really successful posts that have gotten some local businesses, rewarded them for doing the right thing, got them some business. And actually, this morning, I'm not sure if you saw the post. There was some pictures that were flying around on social media in Springfield of some hateful graffiti at a local skate park. Somebody scrawled the N-word, and a couple very homo. Park board or the park district informed everybody that it'd be Tuesday since it was a holiday weekend before they'd be able to get out there and cover them up. Somebody went out and covered up the N-word with the hard R yesterday, but they didn't do anything about the homophobic slurs. So I thought that was a really good teaching moment. And me and my daughter went out and covered them up with white spray paint. Because first of all, that's not something that kids who are going to the skate park when it reopens need to see. And it's also important to show people that things like that aren't tolerated. It's 2020. We're not going to deal with that bullshit anymore.
But it was. Do you think that was really hate speech or just some kid being goofy writing that word there?
It could have been both, but
do you feel like I'm asking you good questions?
Some kid being goofy. I do.
Okay. Because I've been thinking long and hard about it and just what your aim is and what you're saying. And so I'm just like, I'm not, because I'm walking a very fine line because I believe in everything you're talking about. And I believe what you're saying, but it's just a heart check.
You stand to stay and buy and show folks why I'm out here really doing it. Exactly.
And I don't want the viewers to be thinking that I'm like bullying you either. So I got a heat check.
Nah, I just got chased by 5 random guys. You're not bullying me at all.
I feel that. That's some real ass shit. That footage is wild as fuck. But you were provoking them at the same time, kind of. And you know, they weren't gonna hurt you at the same time.
I definitely was. I mean, that last guy that got tackled, I mean, he was trying to kick the guy while he was on the ground already being held by cops.
Oh, wow. Well, excuse me on that. What you smoking on? Hold on. What you smoking on out there? How are you smoking?
I actually just finished my cone. I smoked a cone and a half while I've been sitting here talking with you. Now I'm just smoking a couple cigarettes.
It's funny you can care about masks but smoke cigarettes at the same fucking time. So,
because that's something that affects me personally. It doesn't affect the people around me. Whereas masks,
of course, hold on.
It's
I'm the
not
only
to protect
smoker.
you. It's to protect the folks that are around you.
I can't let you say that now, because for a matter of fact, my smoking affects the people around me who don't, for surely. Now,
as long as you're not exposing them to secondhand.
How do you not expose them to secondhand? Even me walking in the house after a cigarette is exposing to secondhand. So
it's a good point.
A girl having to kiss me, boom, stuff like that. Smoking a cigarette definitely impacts much more than yourself. Even kids growing up will be like, I know somebody, I'm not gonna say who it is, but like them, they remember their parents' cigarette breath and the smell of them after a cigarette as a child. So
I am a compulsive teeth brusher.
Excuse you got every excuse in the book, don't you?
They're not excuses, they're answers.
Now, so.
But I've actually got to get back on the road to Springfield soon, and it's going to be getting dark out here. If you want to roll that second one, so we can get into that portion.
For sure. Give me one. I'm trying to think. I think I can play it directly off YouTube though too. Hold on. And we're about to roll. Talk about the clip real quick before I pull it up here.
This one took place within 5 to 8 minutes of me, probably about 5 minutes of me being removed from the Capitol steps. They said I had to go onto the sidewalk across the street. So I stood in the post office parking lot, actually, directly across from where they were speaking. And if they were going to silence me when I was on the steps, then I was going to speak a little bit louder. And so I used my megaphone to read off literally what 2 of my signs say. I'm not trying to diverge from that message. And, well, a couple guys didn't take too kindly to it. Started yelling at me something that has probably been the last thing that hundreds of, if not thousands of African Americans have heard. I mean, I almost guarantee that Ahmaud Arbery heard "You better run, boy," right before those guys shot him. And I felt like it was pretty good advice at the time, so I complied and took off. Another guy joined in on the chase, and some random guy in a mask came out of nowhere and just leveled him. And at that point, the police were involved, and the chase stopped, and that's where you see the video in.
Okay, I am about to pull it up. Now, viewers at home, this shit is wild. So, okay, YouTube. And all right, can you see my screen?
Check.
I can't now. I see us. There we go.
Check one. If you stood 6 feet apart and wore masks, your protest would be more effective. My 8-year-old daughter doesn't get what she wants when she throws a fit. Why should you? If you stood 6 feet apart and wore masks, your protest would be more effective. My 8-year-old daughter doesn't get what she wants when she throws a fit. Why should you? Take pictures. Now,
Damn.
Dude's crawling across the ground trying to get him.
I gotta run this back one more time.
check one. If you stood 6
And if you notice how calm I am,
your protest would be more effective. My 8-year-old daughter doesn't get what she wants when she throws a fit. Why should you? If you stood 6 feet apart and wore masks, your protest would be more effective. My 8-year-old daughter doesn't get what she wants when she throws a fit. Why should you? Take pictures. Get up. Take pictures.
But why you got your phone out? And even today, I heard you saying
because I wasn't sure how high the quality of the camera on the GoPro was.
Oh,
So I wanted to make sure I got the guy who came out of nowhere to tackle the guy that was chasing me.
but you seem really concerned about you seem really concerned about where and you can find his videos, guys, actually, on the guy with the sign. You really think you're something special for doing this, huh?
Right. No, I just didn't really have a platform on YouTube or anything like that to post these videos. So I actually just made these handles recently, because I feel it's important for folks to see what's going on.
Okay. To counter the media, right?
Not just the media, but these folks individually. People need to see what's happening on the ground and actually see what the folks who are vocally supporting these things, how they act, and that they aren't logical.
I mean, okay. Yeah, well, yeah. Who is, though? It's a tough world. I mean, when do you see this being over? What do you like? Obviously, a lot is going
But
to
there's still a
shift.
standard of behavior. We live in a society.
And it happened long before this as well, stuff like this. So, like, I guess, welcome to the club. We're both trying to combat the pandemic of stupidity in our own way.
Exactly.
I just had to heat check. I guess I respect what you're doing, man. And it's true. People need to be safe, but you stay safe.
Thank you. I appreciate
It's
that.
for me, because for me, I've always been like, I feel like I'm a musician. Even if I have opinions, it's not quite my place to just pretend like I'm a doctor or a politician or actually know what's going on. And I only like speaking on things that I know about. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, like, it's really important.
And I agree with that 100%.
It's also important. It's also, though, important that people like you like, are you plan on making money out of this agenda? Because you brought up stuff like sponsoring businesses. You want to get a cut of the profit that they made that day, obviously.
I'm sorry, I missed that last.
You want to get a cut of the money that they make off of you saying that they're safe, obviously, right?
I mean, making money isn't the primary goal here. Now, since I got doxxed a few weeks ago and lost my job and my ability to support my family, I have received some support from folks, and it's been fantastic. I've got t-shirts, spread awareness. A shirt is a personal billboard, so that shows that other folks while you're wearing something like this that you feel vocal enough about this, that it's important enough to you to actually put that on.
For me, whenever I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, whether I have a full fridge or nothing in my fridge, the last thing I'm going to think about is selling t-shirts. And it's always been that way. Like, it's funny. I would have sold out shows and
I can appreciate that.
And I wouldn't take a picture. I would not take a picture. Packed, front to back, would not take a fucking picture. You know what I'm saying? Because I cared about the music. I had to learn to change from that. because you got to have equity out of what you're doing.
Branding's important.
But branding, when what you want people to do is wear a mask, I guess it all makes sense. It's tough to navigate in this new world. You're using social media for good. I know a lot of people who do the same thing just for their own good. And so I guess I respect you using it for a more righteous cause. Even if you're getting equity off of it. But what do you think the biggest shift in social media is? And the impact of social media on protesting. And do you think people use it more
I
positively?
think it's given a lot more people a voice. I think it's given a lot more people a voice. I think that it's definitely led to more negativity. We've seen campaigns of division for the last 5 years or so on social media. And I think while it's important to use that voice, it's important not just use that voice to talk about the issues that are dividing us, but to show an example of how to do things that bring us together.
You think that you bring them together when you do that? You're very divisive when you do that. That's what I always like. I'll be with you when I'm talking to you. It'll be like bing,
I think the
bing,
other thing,
bing, boom, and then it'll get ruined for me.
It's a balance.
Well, it was good having you.
It's definitely a balance. It's demonstrating the things like I was talking about here, covering the graffiti, the businesses for doing things the right way, mixed with calling somebody.
All right, y'all. That's today's episode. Please let me know how you feel. Am I tripping? Am I crazy? I mean, even I'm still conflicted. Let me change. We're with Let's Vibe TV. Let me know. And how do y'all feel about the protest? All right, y'all.